When the shill stops shilling, you know you done messed up. Hello, I'm Marvin, and I'm the Movie Monster. Sweet Christmas, I am sick to death of talking about the Acolyte, the failed Star Wars abomination spawned into existence by Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant, Leslye Headland, and fronted by Steven Spielberg's former coffee fetcher, Kathleen Kennedy. But the drones continue to hop about it, so it continues to make news. Honestly, it's shocking to me that it's still relevant. Not since Firefly have I seen a show get so much coverage after it was canceled. The only difference here is that Firefly had actual fans. I'm not one of them, just for the record, but they exist and many of you are likely them. Don't at me, I just never got into it. Maybe I'll try again someday. But a show that has caught my attention has been The Penguin on Max. Now, initially, I wrote this one off. I wasn't even going to watch it. It violated my rule against ever again watching a Batman show that didn't have Batman in it. But there was some buzz, so I figured I needed to check it out for the channel, and boy, howdy was I shocked. This was a fantastic first episode filled with engaging characters, sensible and clearly identified motivations, fantastic acting, wonderful cinematography, and most importantly of all, tremendous writing. So of course, the Acolyte mutants online had to try to ruin it while propping up their failed messiah in its place. They once more believed that to attack all of us, the folks who, as Pro likes to say, are sitting in the mainstream middle and the sensible center, they have to tear down the things that we love. They can't accept that we actually enjoy quality storytelling absent the mindless pandering that they soak up like sponges. So anything even remotely good has to be the enemy, and it must be compared to the thing that they're obsessed with. They gotta come up with 1,000,001 reasons why their mess of a show is equal to or greater than the popular thing of the moment. We saw it last year with Rings of Power and House of the Dragon, and we're seeing it right now with people trying to compare the Acolyte's ratings to those of the Penguin. But this argument is so mind-numbingly insane that even the usual suspects in the shill media won't go for it. And we're going to talk about that today on Tooney Town TV. So here we go from Forbes. The Acolyte versus the Penguin viewership comparisons don't really add up. Now, no, I am not calling Forbes a shill outlet here, guys. Don't mistake me. I think Forbes actually does a lot of quality reporting on a lot of subjects. It all depends on the writer that you have. Caroline Reed, for example, great writer. Alfred Kanua, great writer. But this guy here, Paul Tassi, yeah, he's pretty much the shilliest of the shill media. He will toe the Disney line typically, and yeah, I just don't really like his work very much. So let's take a look at what Paul has to say. Now, if Paul Tassi is, you know, if there was anyone that was going to try to prop up the Acolyte in any way, shape, or form, it would have been him. And he says, mentioning this show at this point is essentially trying to take a nap on the third rail. But I've seen a narrative going around that I don't think is terribly accurate, as supportive of the Acolyte as I may be. There you go. He has to put that in there because he is supportive of the Acolyte. He loved the Acolyte. With the debut of the Penguin, HBO bragged that it got 5.3 million viewers in its first 4 days. The Acolyte fans correctly noted that the Star Wars series instead got 11.1 million views over 5 days. The idea here is that the Penguin is being considered a big hit, but the Acolyte is a failure that ended up being canceled. Now, that's not quite comparing apples to apples in this situation. And you know what? I have to give it to Paul Tassi. This is a fair and balanced take. So, you know what? I'm proud of him, I guess. I don't know. It's not really a thing I can be. Because let's add another million for another day, putting the Penguin at 6.3 million over 5 days. In either case, it's the biggest original show debut since The Last of Us for HBO. And mind you, HBO Max is a smaller service than Disney Plus. By last count, the combination of Max, HBO, and Discovery Plus had 103 million subscribers. Disney Plus has 153 million. So more, though not double. Still, it is a fact that needs to be considered here. The problem with the Acolyte is what happened after the premiere. From the same article that was screenshot for the 11.1 million figure, by week 3 of the series, it dropped out of the Nielsen top 10 completely. By the release of the finale, which returned to number 10, that viewership was said to be the lowest of any other Star Wars show. Completion rates are a very, very key metric when considering a show renewal, as if a show loses a significant amount of viewers by the end. The indication is that not many people would show up for a second season. That's 100% accurate. Now, the Acolyte doing 11 million, that doesn't shock me because it's still Star Wars and that name does still go somewhere. I think people would pretty curious about the Acolyte. We had heard all this stuff about episode 3 and how terrible it was going to be, and boy, were they right. So people kind of tuned in for those first 3 episodes, and then it dropped off the Nielsen top 10. And he's also being a little disingenuous here. It never hit the actual Nielsen top 10 for streaming shows. It hit the Nielsen top 10 for streaming originals, and then dropped off after the 3rd week, only coming back for number 10 spot on the finale. Which, I mean, good Lord, it's a Star Wars show that cost $230 million to make. Now, this Penguin show, it's not called Batman the Penguin. It's just called The Penguin, which is nowhere near as big of a property as Star Wars. I mean, look, even Batman, as big of a property as that is, that's also it's not Star Wars. And I would also say that after the hatchet that hack director Hack Snyder took to the DC universe, the DC name is kind of mud at this point. If you want to compare this to Agatha, which I think is probably a more fair comparison, being that they're both comic book properties, I think Agatha also initially is going to do bigger numbers than the Penguin, because Agatha is still part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that is a thing that has generally more interest, even in this time period right now where people are generally down on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They're not down as badly as they're down on the DC Cinematic Universe. You can all thank Zack Snyder for that. Eat it, Snyder fans, because you are part of the problem. He goes on to say, in the case of what happened with The Acolyte, it did not help that its opening was the weakest part of the season, and millions of initial viewers did not make it to the likes of episode 5. Its best entry or beyond. The finale was good as well. No, it was not. I can't believe I had to actually say those words while reading his words. Episode 5, episode 5 the lights? Yeah. Okay, so episode 5 was the one that was just nothing but they fight. So, I mean, there was nothing in there. There was nothing in that script but they fight. And yeah, it was the episode where we lost a bunch of like the really annoying characters like Jedi Master Superfan and Padawan Chitara. Now, he says the finale was good as well. The finale was not good. The finale was a dumpster fire. The finale was so bad that I didn't even review it. Like, I didn't know how to. So he says, but viewership is not the only factor, as what was the biggest issue of all was the bloated budget Disney had devoted to The Acolyte. We do not know how much The Penguin cost HBO, but it's presumably less than the incredibly VFX-heavy Acolyte that reportedly... Now, see, he's giving outdated information here. He says, a budget of $180 million. You should be reading That Park Place, Paul Tassi, because our very own Jonas J. Campbell dropped a bombshell in a stunning example of investigative journalism that the actual cost of The Acolyte exploded to $230 million. Now, that came because when Leslye Headland said $180 million, she was referring to Great British pounds. And when converted at the time to US dollars, that was $230 million. And that's not even counting all of the total cost plus marketing. The true cost of The Acolyte is well over $250 million. It's probably above $300 million, if we're honestly. I think it's going to fall somewhere around $350 million they spent on this show. I don't know what they spent on the Penguin, but it ain't that. Just saying, Paul Tassi, maybe maybe bookmark That Park Place, because we're doing the work that you're not. So no one, even fans, understood how the show cost that much or should have cost that much. As a hugely expensive project drawing on 0 known Star Wars characters, the viewership in it would need to have was almost impossibly high. This is mainly a problem with Disney budget bloat. Yes, there was an intense culture war about the show and a huge division of opinion about its quality, but this has always come down to cost versus viewership. And in this case, a sharp decline over the course of the season where not enough viewers saw it to the end is a bad sign for renewal. That's why The Penguin is considered a hit with those views, and why The Acolyte in the end was not, despite a higher initial total. I get why someone would want to make the argument, but it just doesn't really work in this case. Wow, Paul Tassi, you've actually made a decent argument for once. I'm very, very impressed. It's ripe with inaccuracies, as I've come to expect, but at the end of the day, you did an all right job. Well, let's see, when did he actually put this out? All right, he put it out 2 days ago, which was when I think That Park Place article dropped 2 days ago as well. No, I'm sorry, That Park Place article had already been a day old by that point. So Paul Tassi, you were working on some outdated information. Sorry, sir, but you were. Jonas J. Campbell is running circles around you, my friend. So it's going to be very interesting to see with The Penguin what the numbers do going forward. The first episode was so well received by me as well that you're probably going to see those numbers skyrocket. And I can't wait to see that, because it would be deserved. Word of mouth is huge right now. and we're going to probably see the numbers shoot up, and this will be a bona fide hit for HBO Max. At least I hope. Or Max. It's not HBO Max anymore. So what do you guys think? Have you watched The Penguin? How would you compare it to The Acolyte if you have? Sound up in the comments. Let me know. There you have it, guys. The shilliest of the shill media won't even back this ludicrous comparison between The Acolyte and The Penguin. And as we've already said, the real test between the two shows will be what happens going forward. Penguin had an excellent premiere. Word of mouth on this show is huge right now. If it continues at the same or better quality, we're likely to see ratings go up. That'll be a sharp contrast to The Acolyte, which debuted to okay numbers and then sharply fell off a cliff after its third week. And you better believe that we're going to be tracking that here on Tooneytown TV. This is a show that I really like. It feels like a grittier version of The Sopranos mixed with Breaking Bad, which are two of my favorite shows of all time. Remember when Leslye tried to compare The Acolyte to Breaking Bad? Man, I love when she does interviews. And I'm sure her hissy fit fan-blaming meltdown interview is coming soon over The Acolyte's cancellation, and I frankly can't wait to cover it. The thing I love the most in this world is seeing good, talented, and kind people succeed. But a very close second to that is watching talentless, morally bankrupt hacks fail. Thanks for tuning in today, and thanks to our channel members. They get all these videos early, plus exclusive content like Kevin Apollo's Rants, Mav's Theme Park Breakdown, and upcoming reaction videos starring me and Trish. So, become a channel member today. And I hope you'll all join us on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. EST for Tooney Talk TV, our live stream pop culture podcast where you can make your voice heard as part of the Tooneytown community. If you liked what you saw here today, please like, share, and subscribe. Click the bell icon to get notified of new videos as they drop. From all of us here at the Tooneytown channels, I'm Marvin the Movie Monster. Now get out of here!